Sanctuary cities were bad enough. Now America is a sanctuary country. Yep, it's true. Heard that from the great one, Mark Levin, and he's not wrong. Sanctuary country, that's what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris want. This catastrophe is by design. And have you seen it? It's getting worse. Governor Abbott pointed out that some children could be abused in some of these facilities down there. Do they want new voters? Do they want cheap labor? Probably both, but this is bad. And there are no signs of it getting any better. What do we do at this point? The media actually starting to lose interest in this very important story. Right, your member of Congress, right, Joe Biden? We'll stay on it. Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North joins us in just a little bit. Nobody knows national security better than him. In the meantime, though, Derek Chauvin, he could walk, and maybe he should. The George Floyd Chauvin matter. He is on trial for murder. And there's so much in this case that you aren't hearing about. It's emerging subtly in this trial. But are you watching it gavel to gavel? There are some members of the media who are, but they're not paying attention to the key parts, or they're ignoring them. They see it, but they're not telling you about it. And I want to reiterate a couple of things that jumped out at me. You've heard that George Floyd tried to pass a counterfeit bill and they called the cops. Wow, all this started just because he tried to pass a $20 bill, just 20 bucks. Couldn't they have let it go? Not a violent situation. Here was the first call. Yes, someone tried to give us fake bills. But then they said this: he's sitting on his car because he's awfully drunk and he's not in control of himself. This is the kind of thing that gets the attention of police, so they showed up. And now they have a man who's not in control of himself, who, according to witnesses, is impaired, and he's in the driver's seat of a car. Then it becomes much more significant than a phony $20 bill. You can't let a guy who's drunk and not in control of himself drive off. The police officers had an obligation to take him out of that car. What else? Did you know that George Floyd was arrested, or they tried to arrest him, back in May of 2019? Take a look at this. The 2019 arrest began with a traffic stop. While in custody, Mr. Floyd told officers that he had swallowed several tablets of Percocet, a strong narcotic. He was taken to the hospital. Now, taken to the hospital instead of jail. And there are some on the side of the defense who believe that maybe that was Mr. Floyd's strategy. If he had a medical seizure or episode, if he took more drugs, maybe this time the cops would take him not to jail, but to the hospital, just like they did in 2019. At one point, George Floyd may have said as much.
Does it sound like he says, "I ate too many drugs"? Listen again.
At one point, was George Floyd saying, I ate too many drugs? That was a contention of the defense. They went back and forth, but that's something he could have uttered. What does the jury make of this? We don't know. We don't know. But I would not be shocked at all. I don't think I would even be surprised at this point if they found Chauvin not guilty of murder and even manslaughter. We'll see. It's up to them. But if that happens, I think the public should be ready. I think it would be great to avoid something like what happened in 1992 after the Rodney King verdicts. All hell broke loose in half the country, but particularly in Los Angeles. It was awful. It was horrific. And this time, I think it's avoidable, although it might be too late because the media have sold everyone an incomplete picture of what happened here. All right, time for H&R Blockhead, Joe Biden and his taxes. You know, they spent so much time finding out that Donald Trump is a genuine billionaire. They try to catch him in this, that, and the other thing. It hasn't worked so far, and I don't think it will. We'll get to that in a moment. But Joe Biden has some tax issues that the New York Post, God bless them, they're not afraid to pursue. Take a look at this. The Biden's tax returns from 2017 and 2018 and 2019 show that they routed at least $13 million in income through two S corporations, thereby avoiding Social Security and Medicare payroll taxes. Do you get to avoid Social Security and Medicare payroll taxes? How about this? You know, they set up a foundation for cancer research that, check this out. A cancer charity started by Joe Biden gave out no money to research and spent most of its contributions on staff salaries, huh? Isn't that interesting? But Joe, He always plays it straight when it comes to filling out his tax returns. Just ask him. You got to be wary of anybody who boasts about how honest they are. Take a look at this. He told People magazine a few months ago, I remember years ago an accountant said, you know, you can charge part of the gas you use in the vehicle at your home. And I said, no. Here's how I look at it. The foul line is 15 feet away from the basket. Never get me closer than 17 feet because it really is a matter of public trust. Okay, this is the guy who started that foundation, who avoids taxes and sets up S corporations, right? Right. This is a guy who Mr. Bobolinsky told us the Chinese probably have stuff on him.
I think Joe Biden and the Biden family are compromised.
That was a huge moment that the mainstream media ignored. They protected him. From Chris Wallace, slightly on the right, to everybody else, they protected him and let him get away with nonsense like this.
Because look, there are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have said that this has all the five former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
Rudy Giuliani, Mr. then Vice President. Well, they were talking about Hunter's laptop. Remember, it turned up at that workshop in Wilmington. Well, guess what Hunter is saying about that laptop now?
Oh, yes or no if the laptop
I don't have
was
any
yours.
idea. I have no idea.
So
whether or
could
not.
have been yours.
Of course, certainly.
I have no idea, but it could certainly be my laptop. And then he tried the Russian excuse. He tried all kinds of excuses. I think any reasonable person can see that he's not telling the truth. But these questions were not put to Joe Biden in a consistent way. You're about to see the 2 times that Joe Biden was challenged on these issues with his son, the laptop, Burisma, really challenged. Did he confront the issue? Did he take it on? Did he answer all the questions?
Mr. Biden, what is your response to the New York Post story about your son, sir?
I know you'd ask it. I have no response. It's another smear campaign. Right up your alley. Those are the questions you always ask.
Mr. President-elect, do you still think that the stories from the fall about your son Hunter were Russian disinformation and a smear campaign, like you said?
Yes, yes, yes. God love you, man. You're a one-horse pony. I tell you. Thank you.
I think you were going for one trick pony, Mr. Vice President, at that point. He was very defensive. He didn't open up and take all questions. He hides from the media to this day, but he doesn't really have anything to hide from, does he? Because they are as silly as anything. This is an amazing moment. I played it for you a couple of days ago. I want to show it to you again. This is our mainstream media, how they behave with a totally compromised president in the White House.
Oh, that's interesting. We were trying. You had both your doses.
I had both
Alex.
doses.
Tom. Yeah.
Tom's not old, by the way.
Yeah.
No,
There you go.
No, but for those of us who are,
Yeah.
in fact, I felt better after the dose.
Really?
That's how old I am.
Oh my God. Taking care of you of other things.
In fact, you guys are getting shots tomorrow.
Yeah. Tomorrow's the shot day.
Thank you, Tom, by the way.
Shots. I'm going to just take a shot
Yeah.
when you go.
How about if you've already been vaccinated, you get to
Oh,
do
yeah,
that?
that's right. Carson
All right.
Wagner.
How about a check of the weather?
All righty.
Could you follow all that? Yeah, I do believe that President Biden is compromised, and I believe that mainstream media, they know that. They won't pursue it. I don't get it. I really don't. Is it because they hated Trump that much? You let me know. But speaking of Trump, it's time for some Trump truth.
You are fake news.
They have been trying to get Donald Trump on his taxes since he announced for president back in 2015, really going after him. And each time they try, they miss, and they find out that, yes, he's rich, and yes, he actually played by the rules. Now, the New York Times ran a massive story. Very few people were able to read because there was very little news in it, and it didn't make much sense. Now, prosecutors, they read the New York Times. They read all this stuff. Mueller, he had access to a lot of this stuff, chose not to pursue a case. I believe because there is no case to make against President Trump when it comes to his taxes. You know who found this out? It was brilliant in primetime television. Yeah, Bob Mueller. But also Rachel Maddow, when she got a big hot scoop. And then you could find out right there on live television that The story was a great big bust, at least for the left media.
What I have here is a copy of Donald Trump's tax returns. We have his federal tax return for 1 year for 2005. I believe this is the only set of the president's federal taxes that reporters have ever gotten a hold of. What we have are these 2 pages, front and back, from the same 1040 form that you might have filled out when you file your taxes. And in terms of what's on here, let me give you the basics. Aside from the numbers being large, these pages are straightforward. He paid $38 million, looks like $38 million in taxes. He took a big write-down of $103 million, more on that later. If you add up the lines for income, he made more than $150 million in that year. Mazel tov. We got these pages. We got this document today from a Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative journalist who's better on financial matters than almost anybody else in the business.
And he did not win another Nobel Peace Prize for that story. Showed he made a lot of money, and it showed he paid a lot of taxes. And that's what they're going to find out as they dig deeper and deeper and deeper. And the write-ups he took, he was entitled to take. All right?
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.